We are
determined to uphold the Memorandum of Understanding. In other words, we are engaged in dialogue, but if they refuse to implement what has been agreed through dialogue, we are prepared for war. We will respond, and we will certainly continue to pursue the matter.
Iran's top negotiator says the country could return to conflict if the United States fails to honor its commitments. Tehran is demanding concrete action before agreeing to move toward any final agreement with Washington. Iranian Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bakr Ghalibaf says no new negotiations will begin until the current Memorandum of Understanding is fully implemented. A senior Iranian official has delivered a clear message to President Trump: implement the agreement first, then discuss the next phase. Tehran says the current memorandum has already delivered important diplomatic and financial gains for Iran. Iran says Article 13 of the Memorandum of Understanding will determine when formal negotiations on a final agreement can begin. As Iran claims progress on the release of $12 billion in assets, Washington appears to be adjusting its approach to the deal. Mohammad Bakr Ghalibaf said, and I quote, "Islamic Republic holds $24 billion in assets in various locations. Under a Memorandum of Understanding, $12 billion of that amount would be placed at the disposal of the central bank, allowing it to be used in any currency and for the purchase of any goods." The critics do not want to accept that the agreement has lifted restrictions imposed by the U.S. Office of Foreign Assets Control, OFAC, and ended the blockade. Unquote. Ghalibaf says Iran has broken what he described as the financial blockade imposed on the country. Iranian officials say frozen assets are now becoming accessible, calling it a major achievement following the conflict.
We are determined to uphold the Memorandum of Understanding. In other words, we are engaged in dialogue, but if they refuse to implement what has been agreed through dialogue, we are prepared for war. We will respond, and we will certainly continue to pursue the matter. The negotiations that produced the agreement have already concluded. We are now in a phase where, according to the agreed timetable, we are coordinating and holding discussions to implement what was already negotiated. I'll explain that further. Until those provisions are implemented, we will not move on to the remaining articles of the agreement. So, at present, we are engaged in talks. A decision was made for Iran, the United States, and Lebanon to establish a joint committee to oversee implementation of the end of the war and the restoration of Lebanon's national sovereignty. We are currently following up on putting that mechanism into effect. That is precisely why we say these talks are continuing. Until we fully secure and finalize implementation of these first 5 provisions, including the one concerning Lebanon, we will not move on to the next phase of implementing the remaining articles of the agreement. As for the issue of fees for services, the memorandum specifies that no charges will be collected for the first 60 days. This concession was made at the request of the Gulf littoral states, and it primarily concerns the vessels that had been stranded in the area when the war began and the strait was closed. Under the agreement, Iran is committed within 30 days, and about 8 days of that period have now passed, to remove the technical obstacles in the strait, address navigational safety issues, deal with any mines or similar hazards that need to be cleared, and restore conditions so that the ships that had been there before the war can transit safely. For the first 60 days, we will not charge those vessels for these services. Negotiation is a form of combat. Even now, as we talk to America, we are dealing not with a friend, but with an oath-breaking enemy who will strike the moment an opportunity arises against us. Only those who are prepared for war can truly negotiate effectively. There are clear fissures within the U.S. administration. Rubio charts one course, Vance another. When Rubio visited Bahrain last Thursday, every move he made ran counter to our memorandum. He deliberately provoked the Gulf states again, inciting them against us over the Strait of Hormuz. We face a determined adversary in this memorandum, yet we have stood our ground. Rubio is actively pushing to revive the Washington Agreement and advance the Abraham Accords, aiming to normalize Lebanon's ties with the Zionist regime. Our memorandum, however, is explicitly designed to protect Lebanon's independence. From the moment we lifted the blockade until today, We have exported more than 40 million barrels of oil. Contrast that with the previous 50 to 60 days, when we exported not a single drop, entirely consumed by the obstacles and efforts just to reach this point. We are ready to fight, and we will fight. Yet if dialogue can advance this memorandum, we will pursue it. Know that just as Lebanon's national sovereignty is our red line, if the United States oversteps, our absolute control over the Strait of Hormuz is non-negotiable. We will secure it in the best possible way. Over the next 60 days, we will maintain services. We have finalized all legal and service arrangements with Oman, and within 30 days, we will implement them in cooperation with Oman. We refuse to accept the narrative that lifting this siege is some trivial puff of air. This is the power of the Islamic Republic. Take pride in it and stand tall. We should relieve the people's economic burdens with dignity. By God, this memorandum is the document of America's defeat. We are fully committed to this memorandum. We engage in dialogue, but if the other side refuses to implement it, we are prepared for war and will respond decisively. The situation in Lebanon is different because the Zionist regime has militarily occupied part of southern Lebanon, leading to intense clashes. Yet, since we signed the memorandum and made progress, those clashes have markedly decreased. On the diplomatic front, we are pursuing talks to implement the 5 conditions that must either be fulfilled immediately or have their implementation process launched within the timeframes set out in the memorandum, so that we can guarantee completion by the agreed deadlines. Just 48 hours ago, after 4 or 5 rounds of negotiations between Lebanon and the Zionist regime in Washington, they reached a 14-point conclusion. But the Lebanese people reject this conclusion because it violates the Lebanese constitution. In effect, Israel is officially returning to Lebanon for a second time, and a Lebanese army is being placed at the service of the Zionist regime to guarantee Israel's security.